Hey BFFs, I want to personally invite you to BeFreeInnerCircle.com, your community for real sisterhood where women are showing up and doing the work. Whether you're still trying to figure out what you want to be when you grow up, or you need accountability to keep pushing forward to reach your goals, the Be Free Inner Circle is the community for you. You can expect curated content that will support you on becoming the best version of yourself, live office hours and Q&A sessions where we chat about things like overcoming self-doubt, building your confidence, practicing self-care without guilt, and so much more. Virtual live events from book clubs and workshops with guest speakers, and a supportive and active community of women that will encourage you, hold you accountable, cheer you on, and give you honest feedback and advice. It's the perfect place to be for women who are ready to show up, flourish, and be free. Join today at BeFreeInnerCircle.com. Hey, welcome back to the Girl Be Free podcast. I'm your host, Siobhan, where I'm going to inspire and motivate you to show up for yourself. Today, we are back with another Chasing Free series, and I am interviewing Jessica from No Real Jewelry and the host of the Sunday Jumpstart podcast. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Hey, Siobhan, thank you so much for having me. I love your podcast. I love what you do over on Instagram. You came over to my show, and you are still one of our biggest episodes when you were talking about um, dealing with motherless issues. So thank you so much for having me on the show, too. I'm excited to talk today.
Yeah, me too. And I received a lot of followers and also people that were in my DMs letting me know that they listened to the episode. So that's really good that people were able to take something away from it, because that's definitely not a touchy subject. So before we even get into it, if you're not subscribed to Jessica's podcast, make sure you do at Sunday Jumpstart, where you can check out our interview there. All right, so let's jump into it. What inspired you to pursue your dreams and begin creating the life you want? And that can be towards No Real Jewelry or Sunday Jumpstart podcast and everything in between.
Yeah, for sure. So I went to theater school pretty much my whole doggone life. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, and I was the theater kid. I was always in ballet, tap, dance from the time I came out of the womb rather. And then I went to a performing arts high school in Detroit called Cass Tech. Well, we had a performing arts curriculum or whatever, but the school is like kind of like going to college. Like you focus on that. And then I went to the Northern Illinois University, got my Bachelor of Fine Arts in Theater. And when I graduated in 2006, I'm like, listen, honey, I just graduated from conservatory. I done trained with the best. I am ready to be a star. So while I was in Illinois, I wound up getting my agent in Chicago. It was one of the top agencies in the whole city. And I was like, okay, here I am. I got my agent. I got my degree. Let's do it. And as fate would have it, just acting doesn't work like that, right? You could get all the training in the world, but you still got to audition. You still got to get the callbacks. And so as soon as I graduated, I hit the ground running. I was going to like 4 to 5 auditions a week, which is really good for an actor. And I've auditioned from everything from Empire to Hunger Games to soap operas to commercials to all that. And mind you, I graduated in 2006. I didn't book my first professional gig until 2015.
Wow.
So that means for 9 years, I was consistently and constantly told no. Every door that had a promise or just like looked like it was tailor-made for Jessica Lauren was not. I had to get just doors slamming in my face constantly. And to add insult to injury, when you go to an audition, it's between maybe you and maybe 20 other girls up for the role. If you have an agent, it's no cattle calls or nothing like that. And so I go in the room, the casting directors would love me. Whoever was in the room was like, yes. And so I make it to the callbacks, and the callbacks is now, maybe a week later, and it's between you and 5 other girls. And so I'm like, oh, I'm in the callbacks. And after you make the callbacks, your agent will call you and be like, hey, you're on hold. And if they put you on hold, that means it's between you and another girl. After the casting directors make their, choice, the agent then calls you and they say, you've been released from hold. For those entire 9 years, I was on hold for everything. So it wasn't like I was getting the message like, you're not good enough. Like it wasn't like, Jessica, hang up your dream. I was having proof like these people like me. I'm getting up to the callbacks and I'm on hold all the time. But there's just this disconnect, and that I internalized it as, you're good, you're just not good enough, for 9 years. So it started messing with my head, and I think all creatives just have that. We deal with self-doubt a lot, but when you're in acting or singing where people like judge you in your face, it messes with your head. So I was depressed, anxious, broke, all of the above. And I started to write about it. I created a blog, and No Real Jewelry started off as just like a fashion blog, just like get the look for less, you ain't got to be spending all this money. But then one day I was just like, gee, I do not feel good. Let me write a post about depression. And this was back in 2015. Now we're in a space where self-care is like a buzzword. But even 4 years ago, we weren't, as Black women especially, we weren't really talking about it like that. And I was chronicling what it was like to go to therapy. I was talking about what anxiety, we weren't talking about that stuff. And the minute I kind of pivoted from fashion, I mean, I still talk about that stuff, but started really being vocal about like, y'all, I'm not feeling too hot. The blog, just women was like, tell me more. How do you find your therapist? Da, da, da. And I fell in love with that, Siobhan. Just that feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm helping another woman heal herself and like realize that she can create her own lane. And so that became the passion. Just like, I was tired of hearing everybody tell me no, that I decided I'm going to create my own yes. And so if I wanted to act that day, I get on YouTube. If I wanted to have a fashion shoot, I make a blog post. And people really started to resonate with that aspect of me, that whole like just do it thing. And also just I'm struggling with mental health issues, and it felt more purpose filled than me being on stage, than me being on set. Eventually I did, as fate would have it, I started No Real Jewelry in May 2015. I booked my first big gig that September. Like after 9 years, I finally booked, and I'm on a set for an NBC show, like a really big deal. And that whole time I was thinking like, okay, but I got to get back to write my newsletter about depression. I got to get back. And that's when I knew like, okay, that's what I want to do. Cause it just felt purpose-filled. So that's the long extended version of how I kind of launched No Real Jewelry. And then the podcast was blossomed from that, because I was doing so much writing about heavy stuff that I was like, this would be a cool conversation to have. So that's how the Sunday Jumpstart podcast was born from that world. So that's that.
I love all of that. And it's so rich, because oftentimes when we're told no, people tend to quit and give up and feel like, okay, then I guess I'm not called to do this. Versus you taking 9 years and not letting those no's that you were getting stop you from moving forward, to really find what really brings you purpose, what makes you feel fulfilled, and you get to serve other people while doing it. And then once you started the blog and the podcast, then you get the call. Isn't that something?
It's insane how that happened. And I think the whole acting thing was a thing of desperation. Like, I need to be an actor. That's all I know. And I think whenever we're desperate from anything, we kind of repel the very thing we want away. And I think God was trying to show me like, hey, boo-boo, I know you've been doing this since you was a little girl, but you are a 3-dimensional woman. There's more to you than just that. And I'm just so grateful that I didn't give up, because I wouldn't have found this Jessica 2.0, if you will, that's just like, oh, this is a whole nother facet of myself, which I've fallen in love with.
And we haven't even got through half of the questions yet, but even with this first one, this is the whole reason that I'm doing this series, because that, what you just described, is you chasing your freedom, right? And figuring out what life can look like, even when things are not going your way, but still chasing whatever feels good to you and moving forward. So I just love that. Like, this is the episode, right? That kind of highlights that, because I love that. And I think that these types of conversations are so important, because this way women who are discouraged, or they feel like, I don't know what to do next, or life is just giving them just so many bad cards, if you will. Like,
Yeah.
no, you got to pivot and you got to figure this thing out. So how does your business align with your purpose in life?
Um, like I think I've always innately just been a cheerleader for other people. I just love seeing somebody else win. If you tell me an idea, I'm like, oh, and then you could do this and this and that. Oh my God, call me if you need help. And I just love. I get really lit up about that. And so with the blog, it's all about just living out your God-given passions out loud without fear. So whether that's how you choose to pick your clothes and whatever, I'm writing about that stuff over there. You could go to the blog and just find pretty much all the topics are how can you just live your best self, right? Living your best life. And then with the podcast, every Sunday we're hopping on there talking about just being a goal getter and doing the work, the actual work to make that stuff happen. Because it's one thing to wish, hope, pray, and dream, but you gotta do the work. And I think sometimes we don't know what that is. You know, like, what is the work? How do I start? Da-da-da. So every week I'm just like, this is one way you can start. Here's a productivity hack. Here's a, like, I'm just trying to just share the wealth of what works for me in my business when I'm, have these big goals and I'm knocking them out the park. Is I'm just sharing that wealth. And then with the coaching, it's the one-on-one thing. Like, okay, girl, you got this idea. Let me help you make a timeline. Let me help you make, do this. So all in all, to answer your question, I think it just aligns with me just want to see people win. I try to make everything I create be a gift to help somebody realize their potential and live in that best version of themselves.
Mm-hmm. And you are a woman after my own heart, because that is what everything that I do, like, I just want to see people win. And if someone gives me an idea, like if they say I want to write a book or I want to do X, Y, and Z, I'm like, all right, let's get it. You can go here, you can connect with this person.
Yes.
And I get so excited. And then when they don't move forward, then I'm like, girl, what are we
Don't
doing?
You get
like,
angry?
yes, like, I'm ready to help you move forward. So I can totally relate to that. Now, what would you say that you enjoy most about living life on your own terms?
What do I enjoy the most? When I talk to my mom, she's like, Jessica, why don't you just get a real job? And, from a loving, motherly space. And sometimes it used to trigger me, just like, what does she mean by real job? What I do is real work. But I've heard it even from being an actress. Just like people are always like, why are you chasing something? Just go get something that's really concrete. Because my family and friends have had to watch me get rejected and defeated for years. So for them, they're like, the easier way is just to go do this. But I'm so proud of myself for crafting a life where I can do pretty much whatever the hell I want to do. You know what I mean? Like today, it is what time? It's 11:49 on a Friday. I'm sitting in a co-working space and I'm having a meaningful conversation with you that I hope will impact other women and encourage them. Yeah, it would be nice to have that steady paycheck every 2 weeks and all of that. But then again, there's something to be said that I built something with my own two hands that I didn't know I can build. And I managed to sustain it for 4 years. And now I'm scaling it. And now I'm making money consistently.
Yes.
So it's just like, I hear you, mama, because they see the ups and the downs. Business has so many peaks and valleys, more so valleys than peaks sometimes. So I know it's hard to witness, but to be able to say, I did this, didn't nobody give this to me, that gives me, that's what freedom is. You know what I mean? And sometimes what I've been learning is that wealth isn't necessarily monetary, a monetary gain. For me, freedom and wealth has been, I get to do with my time what I want to do with my time.
Yes.
Like my best friend, she moved to Arizona. She was like, the boys are having this big football game. Do you want to come? Yes. And to be able to not have to let me, write my email to my boss and see if I can get time, that means a lot. But there are sacrifices that had to be made. There are times the checks come in late, people don't pay, and I might have to figure that out. But for me, that's been a wealthy feeling, freeing feeling for myself.
Oh my goodness. I was literally just having, and I'm holding back tears because I was literally just having this. No, seriously, this morning, I was thinking about, I had to go put a card in the mailbox. And as I was walking, I was like, you've had to sacrifice so much for this moment. And I'm writing this post really soon about, like, it's been 6 years since I've had a real job, right? I've been working for myself. And so when I think about that, there has been so much sacrifice that has happened over this time frame and we talked about this before when it comes to like friendships and, you know, the money being up and down and trying to figure out this whole thing. But what I am so proud of is, number one, I have not given up, and I have this tangible thing, right? That I am able to impact lives all over the world. And that is freedom. And that is more rewarding most times than even getting a check in the mail, because now, because you decided to show up, other people are listening, they're paying attention, and then they're going to show up as well. I love that. And my grandmother, God bless her, she too keeps, you know, she'll ask periodically. And I was just talking to my coach about this. When are you going to get a job? When are you going to start working again? Also, when are you going to put the kids in school? Because I also homeschool. And so the way that I'm living my life is totally opposite of what she sees. And you're right, it is triggering because they see us go through the ups and downs of all of this. But when you're in purpose, it doesn't matter what nobody say. You know what I mean? It's like, this is what I've been called to do. And I cannot, even if I wanted to get a job, my soul would not feel good. Like, it just would be so out of place that it just wouldn't work, you know? And so that's what I'm saying. We have so much in common when it comes to this type of work that I'm sure that people listening are going to be able to take a lot from the conversation. And sometimes, and I talked about this on a previous episode, you got to be okay with going on this journey solo, because people are not going to understand it at all. You know?
They don't understand. They don't get it. And I remember one time I was talking to a friend and she asked me about the business and she gave me unsolicited advice or whatever. And I just felt so sad because she didn't get it. Like, I wanted to cry. She was like, well, why don't you do this? This is easier. Blah, 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 blah. And it just dawned on me, like, you can't ask people to understand what you're doing if they haven't built anything, right? And I just always think of Noah's Ark, just like that man was out there building a boat, and in the middle of the desert, it wasn't raining, but God was like, listen, something's about to come, so I'm about to pop off, build this boat. And I'm sure he felt crazy and stupid and people was teasing him, but when it rained, everybody wanted on the boat. I feel like as entrepreneurs, creatives, healers, that's what we're doing. We're building this invisible ark. And you just, like you said, you have to like guard your heart and be ready to journey alone because we're walking in purpose and a lot of people aren't. And so I think they project those fears and all of that on us because it looks weird, but you just got to have those blinders on. Like, I hear you, mama. I know it's coming from a good place, but I have to keep moving forward because God told me to build an ark. And that's it. Yeah. I don't know what else to tell you.
And you have to have faith. So I'm listening to these sermons. Yeah. I think it was you. I know it was another young lady that I saw too. But the guy, Pastor Mike Todd, is preaching on crazy faith. And I've been like all in it. Like he's like on like series or number 11 or something at this point. But just watching how you got to have faith even when you don't understand it, even when things does not make sense. Like having that faith and that vision of what God has put in your soul. Like, you just got to believe that it's going to happen. And we don't know the timing of it, but we know in our spirit that you've been called to do this work. So I'm so glad that we're in like the same kind of
the
space,
same page. Sure. Yeah, for sure.
Now, what would you describe as an aha moment? And this can be something recent or something in the past.
Oh, aha moment. What has been an aha moment? I had it earlier and my mind just went blank. I guess one of my biggest aha moments of late is that I basically have to practice what I preach. we are all about take care of yourself, be gentle with yourself, have faith, da, 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 da. But I don't necessarily always live up to that. And I get frustrated with myself, like, why am I so tired? I can't do the podcast because I'm tired, or why didn't I write that blog post? And it's like, it's because you're not filling up your own gas tank. Like, you are literally running on E. And so I've had to make very concerted efforts to take care of myself in order for me to show up. And that's been the like, oh, that's why things haven't been working. It's because I'm just on empty. So I've been doing this thing, and I know we're going to talk about self-care, so I'm sorry if I jumped the gun, but one question that I ask myself every single day is, what is the most loving and kindest thing I can do for myself in this moment? And sometimes I do it proactively, like before the day even starts, let me ask myself, what's something I can do that's loving and kind for myself? And that could be, make sure you take a nap, make sure you have a whole meal, or it could be something really reactive. If somebody already set me off, or I was in a draining conversation, or my mama said, why don't you get a real job? And I feel triggered and like I'm about to cuss everybody out and I want to cry, I'll stop and say, what is the most loving and kindest thing you could do for yourself in this moment? You know what? I'm going to go outside, go for a walk, put my phone on Do Not Disturb so I don't receive any more messages, and just center myself. That question has helped me to refill my tank throughout the day, every day,
I'm going to use that because, and I did just posted this on Instagram. Miriam, I can't think of her last name, but the post said, you know what I'm talking about? Something about being hard. Yeah. And it was something about being too hard on yourself. I can't remember the exact words, but sometimes we can be, and it's like, we need to be a little bit more kind and give ourselves grace, because we put a lot of pressure on ourselves trying to do all the things. And like sometimes you just need to go outside, get some fresh air, not take in any more messages, and let me get back centered so that I'm in a good place. And I remember you did this episode recently on your podcast when it was something about your health. And I remember listening to it, and I was in tears, and I could not even finish the episode before I DM'd you like, oh my gosh, this episode is so good, because it was so relatable. And I can't remember all of the specifics, but I do know that we do have to be intentional about taking care of ourselves, especially when we're doing this type of work where we're always telling other people what to do,
Yes. Because I think I don't think we do it on purpose, but I think it kind of makes you not disingenuous. It's just a disconnect. Like, if I'm pumping you up and telling you to treat yourself with gentleness, but as soon as I hang up the phone for my coaching call and I'm like, look at this to-do list, you ain't do nothing today. It's like, well, am I being, it's just a disconnect. Yeah. So it was like, you have to be genuine with what you preach and also, live it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So what has been your biggest challenge as a business owner thus far? That's how everybody is when I ask this question. They're like, girl, where do I start?
What you mean? What is 10 biggest? I am a creative. I love the creative aspect of things, the taking the pictures, the writing, the talking. What trips me up is the marketing. I don't necessarily want to talk about. I want you to stumble on it and find it and figure out that it's great. And that's just not how business works. You know what I mean? You have to talk about it. But there's some shame in that, like, I never want to come across as like, look at me, I'm Jessica, I'm an expert, I have the answers, I want your money. And I've really had to change that narrative. Like, Jessica, your desire is to impact as many women as possible and to get them to get aligned with who they are and get closer to God and create their own lanes. And it takes money to do that. So you have to show up and say, hey, I have this service. It's going to knock your socks off, but I need to be compensated for it. It's just been a challenge to market it and talk about it. It's okay with, Twitter, social media, like typing it out. But if someone asks me, what do you do? I'm still like, oh, I'm a digital content creator, as opposed to saying, I'm a life coach. You know what I mean? Because then, oh my God, do I have to talk about money? Do I got to do my sales pitch? So that's been one. Another big thing is not growing as fast as you want to. But then, girl, whenever I'm like, why aren't I where I want to be? It's like, well, Jessica, I know it would be nice to have 1 million followers, 1 million subscribers, but you haven't responded to the DMs, the 50 DMs you got today. Take care of your small, and then work yourself up. So those are just marketing and just that desire to be bigger, better, bolder. But I think there are so many lessons to be learned when you only have 30 or only 1,000 or only 2 clients. It's lessons in there, but it's also not fun to go through.
Yes. Oh, and I have so much to share. So when it comes to like the marketing piece, I just want to share what I got. Y'all love it and y'all invest in it. However, working with the coach, she like, you are not in a hobby, you are in business. So,
exactly.
So then it's like, you have to tell people, obviously in a way that feels good to you, what you have to offer. But I get it, right? Because it's like, oh, I don't want to come off as this kind of way. But we're not doing this for free. This is not charity work. This is work. And what I have to keep saying is like, this is how you feed your children.
That's it.
And so you got to talk about it. And so I've been doing a much better job with strategy and all that jazz, but thank God I have a coach because totally. And then the other part to that is that when you talked about growing slow, I remind myself, because I too, like when I first started out and over the last couple of years, I want all these followers, I want all these brands to connect with me, I want all the things, but there's beauty in going slow, because there's going to be a moment when you get all those followers, you get those brands, you get all these clients, you're speaking everywhere, you're doing all the things, and you're going to wish things were going slower. So that is my reminder. Like, I'm going to wish that I have moments like this, where things really start picking up. And I feel the momentum coming right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I can, like, I see the vision, I see all the things. So I'm trying my best to say, okay, this is good. This is good pace for me.
This is good.
Let me figure out all these things, because when it takes off, it's like, then you need people to help you, because it's going to be too much.
Exactly. And I feel like there is so much freedom where we are. You and I get to experiment. Yes. We don't have a ton of brand partnerships, which is like, I don't want, but then that means I get to post what the hell I want to post. You know what I mean? I get to play around with my coaching program. And then in this season, we get to build the systems, the foundation, so that when stuff pops off, it's like, okay, we already a well-oiled machine, but you can't get there by skipping this middle section that we're in,
Absolutely. That is so true. So yes, whoever is listening, honor the space that you're in and be okay with going slow.
Yeah.
And even what you think is slow is actually probably going fast in comparison to how other people are moving,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, So what keeps you motivated on some days when you're feeling overwhelmed?
Oh, my girls. I just think about my women, just like when I'm just like tired and just all of that. I'm just always praying that God just use me to help set somebody else free, because there have been women, like you or Oprah, whoever, that have done.
Wait, me and Oprah? You putting us in the same Wait a minute. I'm like, wait a minute.
But or Natalie Lou. It's just so many people that I listen to constantly that have given me some sort of freedom through the work that they're doing. So I just am always like, take some time for yourself. But there is a girl out there that is like, dang, I'm in my 8th years of auditioning. Okay, here's Jessica to serve you. You know what I mean? So that keeps me motivated a lot. That's the main reason.
And you never know who is watching, who's paying attention, whether they say something or not. And even to know that you've been on the journey for this period of time, like I had no clue. And to keep moving forward and keeping a positive attitude. And then you have so much, like you said, that you can share with someone else who's just beginning or who's in the middle, and sometimes you may have to pivot and figure out something else while you're doing that thing.
Listen, no, rejection I hated it, but it became a best friend, because it taught me you ain't always going to get a yes. And a lot of us stop on our dreams and our visions and our goals because we thought, I launched this thing on day one. Where's my yes? Where are my sales? Where are my clients? It does not work like that. So that 9-year period of no taught me, hey, rejection is just a part of the game. That's just a part of life. And what I started to do, I think I first heard this on Being Boss podcast, is just trying to get 100 no's, so that again you just get comfortable hearing it. So what I do now, I have a list of brands, I like dream brands I want to work with. I pitch 3 every week. Every week I get 3 no's. And I'm like, oh, I'm on no 57. And the theory behind it is your yes might be at pitch number 76, but how would you know if you gave up on your 3rd pitch? You know what I mean? So like that season of just constant no and doors closing made me more brave to approach somebody like, hey, I know you got more than me. You do this, you did that, but do you want to come on my podcast? Can you be my mentor? Can you help me out? I'm not afraid to just be like, hey, can you help? Can I help? And all they can do is say no. No has no power. That you gave me a gift. Okay, move, baby, so I can go ahead and help who I need to help. So it has been a gift, and I always challenge people, if you're listening, try to get 100 no's, because that means that was 100 times you actually went for it. And the yes, it's just a number game. Eventually somebody has to say yes. Hopefully it doesn't take 9 years like it did me, but somebody gonna say yes. So just get comfortable.
You are preaching a word.
Yes!
You are preaching a word. And you know what? I am going to use that going forward.
Oh, yeah.
Like every guest that I've had on so far has shared so much wisdom that I'm like, oop, jotting that down, writing that down. But definitely that 100 no's, because you do get discouraged when you're not getting chosen. And then you see your peers and they're doing this and doing that. And you're like, we're doing the same thing. What is going on? So that going forward in 2020, that is definitely going to be something that I am intentional about doing, is getting 100 no's to get 100 no's. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's so rich and so good. And you will become comfortable and you're like, all right, move over
so I
can
get yes. And you know what? A no oftentimes is sometimes a not yet. You can always follow up. It strengthens your follow-up skills. They might recommend you for somebody else. There are blessings in the no's. It isn't an all the way shut door all the time. And if it is, thank you so much. Move out my way, you know?
I love that a lot. So what's one thing that you would say that makes you stand out from your peers?
Oh, when I saw that question, I was just like, what makes me stand out? You know what? I'm going to be 1,000% honest. I know in the business world, they say, don't do this. I don't follow my peers. And I know you're supposed to keep an eye on your competitors and and all of that. I just don't, because I have a real big comparison flaw or whatever, and it really messes with my head. So for the peers that I do follow, it's because I just like have mad respect for you and I love but if there's a peer that has like a million this and I'm just like, girl, I love what you're doing, I just can't watch it. So I kind of don't know what makes me stand out from my peers, because I'm just such a like tunnel vision person. I'm in my own lane, because when I'm looking at everybody else, I'm starting to be like, okay, well, should I do how she did it? Because and okay, God told me to do this, but she did that. So I don't know.
But I like that. I really like that, because we're all guilty of that, right?
Yeah.
Looking at what other people are doing and then questioning like, well, am I doing it right? And I did that for several years in my business.
Yeah.
And I too had to unfollow a lot of people. And it was like, I still want you to win. I'm still rooting for you, but I just can't see certain things based on where I'm at. And it took me getting offline, which I'm preparing to do that this fall and winter, where I have to do a social media detox and really, because we need a break. When you're constantly going and going, you need God to be able to speak to you without any other distractions or anything like that. And over, I would say the last year, maybe year and a half, I have really got so much clarity about how I want to show up, who I'm showing up for. And like you, I am very laser focused, where I now know the exact woman that I'm here to help. And everybody on the outside of that, it doesn't matter to me.
Noise. Yeah.
Yes, it's so much noise. But I think that that's good that you made a choice, right? Like, I'm just going to keep looking straight ahead and not worry about what my competitors are doing, right?
Yeah. It's not healthy for me. And I wish I was more mature. You know, I think it's this meme floating around like, well, maybe you should question why I triggered you and it's just like, you know what? I'm human and I want to be at a different level. And if that makes me feel smaller, let's take that. I'm going to take myself out the equation and just follow the women that say, hey, Jessica, I like your work. I'd rather follow her than follow the $1 billion blogger that I'm craving her. Like, nah. So
That's good. So
Yeah.
what has been your biggest fear and how have you overcome it?
Oh, gee, you know what? My biggest fear was going from making free content to making paid
Oh,
content.
wow. Okay.
Because I started off as a blogger, so all you do is you just write, you just create. But it was just like I have to live. You know what I mean? I'm giving out a big part of myself energetically. So let's figure out ways that I could make some money from this. There was a lot of guilt, like, oh, this comes easy to you, Jessica. How dare you want to make money from it? And it was just like, because I can. This is, it's a business. So um I was afraid to come out with paid services. So the first thing I came out with flopped completely, which was fun. This January I came out with, it was called the Goal Getters Collective. And my idea was every Saturday, a group of us would get together in real life and just talk about our goals, our vision. I would give them my methodology on how to achieve your goals. But I launched in January in Chicago. It's snowing. Ain't nobody coming outside for 8 weeks. You know what I mean? But I didn't even take that into account. And I felt defeated. But then that's another thing with rejection is you fail fast, hurry up, cry your tears, but it just gives you so much information. Just like, okay, it was cold outside. Everybody doesn't live in Chicago, even though that's my main hub. Let's figure out how you can pivot that. So then I came up with the Goal Getter Sessions, which is the same idea, but it was one-on-one over Skype or Zoom on the phone. And it's 8 weeks. And you give me an idea and I help you strategize it, execute it, all of that stuff over the course of 8 weeks. So I was able to pivot that mistake and make it into something that was really viable and that's been helping people. So I launched that in July and we're still going strong. God bless me with clients, but that was a big fear, especially because back in the day on Twitter, there was this narrative like, oh my gosh, you're that blogger that's trying to sell a course, or you're that blogger that's trying to make money. Ew, that's gross. So I felt really impostery and fraudy.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big fear of mine, was to launch something that people could pay for. But now I'm so grateful for the flop and that I bounced back.
Yes. And what I love is that you were able to learn from that, and you wouldn't have known not to launch in January in Chicago had you not did it, right? And it's like, oh, now I understand. And now you're hosting your in-person events again, which I think is so cool. Yeah. And so, but you have to figure this stuff out by learning, by testing, making mistakes, and then figuring out how you can do it better versus just quitting altogether. So I've been there. I know it so well. The launching time is not fun at all. No. I don't like it. And I don't like, there's this narrative like you have to do everything the way that everybody else is doing it. And so again, my coach is amazing. I had to pull myself back and like, Siobhan, and this is something that she keeps asking, what is Siobhan's way? What is Siobhan's way? And I'm like, well, let's figure out what Siobhan's way is, because I don't like doing it the way that everybody else is doing it. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful. It may take you a little bit longer or what have you, but you got to figure out how you want to do things,
I totally know. I was being encouraged to get on Instagram and talk about it every day. And I was like, I do have this fear of talking about it, but that's not, it just didn't align with my spirit. I knew that the podcast was the vehicle to get my clients, not necessarily Instagram, just because of me and my people. We key on Instagram and DM and have like really good connections. And it's not to say that I don't always do it, but I was being encouraged to do it 3 times a day. No. I'm gonna do it my way.
Yes. And that's a lesson I had to learn too, because I thought, I need to go live every day. That was not working. So now I don't really go live at all because it wasn't working for me. But what is working is me posting these videos. Like I do 4 videos per week and the engagement's high and all that jazz. So like you got to figure out what works for you and what platform works best. So I love that. So what's one lesson, and I'm sure you got many, but what's one lesson that you've learned on your journey to being free?
We kind of talked about it earlier. It's just kind of guarding your vision and being so super selective on who you share that vision with. That has been the biggest lesson of life. Again, people mean well. I don't think everybody is a hater and all of that. I just think that when you say, hey, I'm going to try this thing out, or I want to launch something, it freaks people out because you become a mirror and they have to look at themselves. Well, damn, when was the last time I took a leap of faith? Or when was the last time I launched something? And to have themselves say, I ain't did nothing, it makes them scared. And then they project it on you. Well, it's a recession coming up, or, and so with that, when they start speaking that stuff, it can really shake you to your core and make you stop completely. So the biggest lesson I've learned is when I have a vision and I have an idea, is to keep it to myself and only share it with those Noah Ark people, the people that's like, girl, I don't know what you're talking about, but I believe you. I trust in you. Let's get it. I used to do the opposite and just tell anybody with a listening ear and all that fear, girl. So I don't talk about my vision unless it's with my sacred people. You know what I mean? The people I trust and who are also kind of in business as well.
That's so good. You have to find the right people that you can share with, because everyone doesn't have your best interest in mind. And it's not personal. It's just, like you said, you're showing them a mirror of what they're not doing. And so then it's like, oh, then let me just put my fear on her. And it's not that they're intentionally doing it. It's just they're afraid because they're not showing up in their own life.
Yes.
So what would you say that you're most proud of?
Yay. I'm just proud of this little Black girl from Detroit that left when she was 17 and literally just created this life for herself. I'll be 35 on Halloween, and to just think of how far I came with minimal help, minimal guidance, got myself through college, started a bit. It's just like, dang, girl, like you did it. And I was talking to one of my clients, and she's trying to take a big leap of faith in her life, and she's been stuck. And I was like, what's the issue? She was like, it's because I don't have any clarity. I don't have clarity. And I was like, you don't have clarity because you're not taking any action. I wouldn't be where I am today if when I was auditioning year one, I had stopped because I didn't have clarity. The clarity came after being like, you know what? I don't like how this feels. Let me create my own blog. And then once I created the blog, it was like, dang, I'm doing a lot of writing. Let me create a podcast. Then I created a Clarity comes with action. You know what I mean? And so, you gotta keep moving through it all, and then the answers will start coming to you, but they can't come if you're sitting around, dang, I need clarity, where you at? It's like, girl, come on, get on your feet. Let's do something.
And so many people are waiting for something to happen versus just showing up for themselves. And that's what this whole podcast is about. Like, how are you going to show up for yourself? And you're right. Like, there has to be some action. You can't just sit there like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where my life is going, and not do nothing. Like, come on.
Yep. It doesn't work like that. You'll know what to do. God reveals things to us step by step by step. There is even if you look at Google Maps, when you put on the address as you're driving, it's not like, 7 hours from now, you're going to make a left. No, it's step by step. First, drive straight. And 0.2 miles, make a left. Once you get there, make a right. So we have to just keep it moving and trust that the steps will be revealed in due time. Because it will.
Absolutely. And so that's the perfect segue into, like, what advice would you give someone who's just starting out, whether in their career or in their personal life, like really moving forward? Like, what advice would you give them?
I am just a huge proponent for putting those blinders on and to really get quiet and figure out, what do I want to do with my life or my business? And then just start doing it. Don't get too caught up in research. We do a lot of that analysis like, okay, let me get one more book, one more course, one more webinar. No, do your research. Then after that, keep going, but don't get too caught up in comparing and all that jazz, because it really will trip you up.
That's good. And so what's your favorite affirmation or quote that you live by?
Recently it has been, everything that I need is already provided for. Everything that I need is already provided for. And that helps when you're just like, I don't know what to do. It's like, it's already there. Trust yourself. Take a step. Everything that I need is already provided for. That gives me so much comfort. Like, God is with me. He's right here with me, helping me. Because it feels lonely and you just feel like, I don't know what to do. Everything you need is already provided for.
Yes. And that reminds me of the affirmation that Nikki shared from a Black Woman on several episodes ago. She said, everything is always working out for my good.
Oh, yes.
Everything is always working out for my good. And she shared a video, and I'll link again in the show notes from Abraham Hicks, where she says it over and over and over again. So I've been listening to it in the morning or before I go to bed. And you just need that reminder. Everything is always working out for my good.
Yes.
It's
yes.
so simple, but it's so true.
One.
Yeah. I love yours too. I'm writing that down. So this is a hard question that I ask everyone I know, 'cause especially if you are a reader, like trying to narrow it down. But what is one book that you highly recommend that the Girl Be Free listeners listen to or read? I'm sorry.
Oh, this is a hard question.
That's why I'm not answering it.
Girl, why am I acting like this? Manifest Now. Girl, you know.
Yes, I know.
We have been obsessed with Manifest Now. It's by Idil, Idil, Ahmed. And she just talks about the power of your thoughts, your words, and how you can create the life you want. So definitely, that's been my 2019 favorite. And honorable mention is being a badass at making money.
Yes.
That kind of kicks me in. I read that a few times throughout the year when I'm just like, sometimes I get so caught up in creation, I won't do the work that will make me money. I'll go back and listen like, okay, she said, So Manifest Now and you are a badass at making money.
And I love both of those books. So yes.
Aren't they good?
And someone else mentioned You Are a Badass at Making Money as well. And you're right. Those are both books that you can revisit like over and over again and constantly pick something out of. And with Manifest Now, I started off with the audio book, but I needed to actually see it because I needed to highlight. So I actually ended up purchasing the book. So I'm now listening and flipping the pages. So that's good. How would you say you support other women?
Oh, hopefully everything I do, I'm like, yes. This girl the other day, she slid through my DM. She was just like, hey, I'm starting a podcast. Do you have any time this week to help me figure it out? Yes. You know what I mean? Like, yes, let's do it. We hopped on a 15-minute call. I am always just like, what do you need? I am here to help. So I'm just praying that through the blog, through the podcast, through my social media presence, that people know that I am a supporter, an encourager, and I'm here for them.
See, a woman after my heart. I'm there. Yes. And then lastly, before we shout out what you got coming up, is what does being free mean to you?
Oh, just girl, not to get off topic, but I'm gonna make this long story very short. I started talking to a young guy and he told me the other day, you're a lot. Like, as in, I'm a lot to handle. And he went on to say, I'm too much. And it was just like, oh, am I? But the old Jessica would have turned into, that is so triggering for me. Just growing up, being very boisterous. I was always told, sit down, you're doing too much. There you go. I always want attention. So I wanted to cry and, go down a spiral. But the freedom in that moment was to be like, you know what? I am too much. And I am absolutely okay with that. That has been so freeing to me because I've always felt like I am not enough. I'm not good enough. People don't like me. So to be able to be authentically myself and not apologize for it, that's been my freedom. This past week, that's a very tangible example of just me being like, I hear you and you're projecting right now. I'm not accepting any of this. My freedom is being like, I am loud. I do laugh a lot. I do talk a lot. I'm okay with that. Yes. That is freedom, girlfriend, because I am a people pleaser, a recovering one. Old me would have been like, okay, he said, I talk too much. I'm not talking no more. No, I'm going to talk more now. Yeah. That's been freedom. Yeah.
I love that because often, I feel like I got something to say after everything.
Girl.
But, because we will shy down when someone says something because that's personal, because now it's almost like that's like a personal attack against me, that you don't like something in me. And if I want you to like me, then I have to become someone else that I'm not comfortable with. And I'm going to end up regretting it down the line. So yes, that is definitely freedom, that you are able to own your space and speak your truth and say, yep, I am a lot.
Yep.
Okay. And now
Okay,
what?
boo boo. Now what?
Yes. And I saw that post, and I got to go back and read it all, but I saw that first statement when you posted on Instagram,
Yeah.
and I'm like, who said that? That ain't right. I don't like it. But I love how you were able to flip that negative into
Oh
something
yeah.
positive.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Freedom to be me.
Yes, I love it. And I love your energy. And I think that's what attracted me to you, and like following and connecting and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Because I like it. You're very down to earth. And
Thank
I
you.
just love it. I love your energy a lot. And this is why we're sitting here talking.
Yes, thank you. And
You're
likewise.
welcome. Thank you. Thank you. So what exciting things do you have planned, whether coming up towards the end of the year or the beginning of the year, that you want to share with everyone? And then this is also the time where you can share your website and everywhere we can follow you on social.
For sure. So what we got coming up next is focusing on 2020. We're doing the Goal Getter sessions again, but instead of it being only 8 weeks, it's 12 weeks. So the idea is to help you, if you have an idea but you've been stuck, a big goal is to help you strategize, execute, look at your time, all that stuff, but to do it for the entire first quarter of 2014. I was finding that 8 weeks, 2020. Did I say 2014?
You did. I'm like,
Girl,
we're going way back.
We're going way back. But I just found that 8 weeks wasn't enough time. So I'm excited about this new cohort of the Goal Getter sessions. And again, it's just an opportunity for us to work one-on-one together on your goals and to help you, give you the support you need to knock them out of the park. Because again, we get these good ideas and we stop. There are so many obstacles: time, support. My mama said this: I will help you overcome those things so that you can actually take action. So if you are interested in learning more about that, you can just go to norealjewelry.com. That's the blog, and just click on work with me. And there is a questionnaire, and I'll email you. It's a whole to do. So I'm super excited about that. I plan on doing a live recording of the podcast in 2020. I'm thinking March. So we got to stay tuned for that. But yeah, if you want to keep in touch, the best way to do that is on Instagram. I'm Jessica Lauren, but my Instagram handle is @NoRealJewelry. Tune into the podcast every Sunday. It's called the Sunday Jumpstart Podcast. And we are everywhere that you listen to podcasts. And that's pretty much it. Talking about the blog, the Instagram, the podcast. Yes.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to link to all your jazz in the show notes, so then that way people can connect with you.
Yeah.
And then is there any final words that you want to share or anything?
Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. That's going to be my next tattoo. Keep going. No matter what. There are so many blessings when you just see things through. Get your follow-up game strong, follow-through game strong, and just keep forging ahead. It's nothing wrong with pivoting, but don't stop,
I love that. I love that so much. So thank you, Jessica, so much for being
so
on the show. Totally appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
Yes. And until next time, girl, be free.
Hi, I'm Wilma McClelland, a certified life cycle celebrant based out of Queens, New York. And I am also a member of the Be Free Inner Circle. I became a member because I was in need of a community of like-minded women who cheer each other on to greatness. A place where I am free to be transparent, vulnerable, and accountable. A place where I'm challenged to do more than I thought that I ever could. I was blessed to find all of these qualities and so much more in the Be Free Inner Circle.